Hi guys, and welcome back, and what we're going to be doing today is once again ranking some movies using TierMaker. So last time we ranked the Marvel Cinematic Universe all the way from Iron Man to Avengers Endgame, which was fantastic. Hope you really enjoyed that one. Today we're going to be doing the X-Men movie franchise. So all of these movies along here that are part of the Fox-made X-Men-centric movie universe. So starting from the beginning, first up we're going to rate X-Men, the original. And this is going to go straight in, already deliberating between brilliant and good. And taking it into the context of the rest of the movies, I'm going to say brilliant. It's a really, really good movie. The action's good. Some of the dialogue isn't quite there. Storm's line about the lightning and the frogs and the toads, still not quite sure what they were thinking there, but it's still a really good movie. It's still really enjoyable. And it was kind of the first movie that really put superhero movies and that sort of action movie back on the map. Like following up from the Blade movies and stuff like that. Next up, obviously, X2, X-Men United, and again, that is going to slot straight in at brilliant. It's an absolutely fantastic film, a really, really, really enjoyable watch, and to this day, one of the best superhero movies. It just has everything. Hugh Jackman really comes into his own in this movie, and it's a really, really fun watch. Okay, next up, X-Men Days of Future Past. And that's going straight in at terrible. This movie sucked so badly, which was so disappointing because it came off the back of two fantastic films. And then for it to be as disappointing as it was, I know for a lot of movie fans, was just so disheartening. For a while we had such a good movie franchise, and Last Stand just didn't live up to it. I feel personally they rushed into the Phoenix saga too quickly, and they didn't use Cyclops enough. Cyclops was terribly underused in this trilogy, and obviously he was killed off at the beginning of the movie. And obviously it will say on the thumbnail and at the beginning of the video that spoilers for every single movie in this franchise if you hadn't guessed that already. So next up we're going to rate the Wolverine. And again, this movie isn't very good. Or X-Men Origins Wolverine even, not to be confused with The Wolverine. But this movie isn't very good. Most of the hate for it comes from the terrible use of Deadpool and the terrible use of Ryan Reynolds in that role. But sometimes we do forget that if it wasn't for this movie, we would not have the Deadpool movies. So, can't complain too much. Next up, X-Men First Class. And we're just going to stick that straight in at good. It's a good movie. It was a good bounce back for the franchise. I really liked the use of the new characters. And yeah, it's a solid movie, decent villain, and it felt right. It really did feel right. Then we're going to go with X-Men Days of Future Past. No, sorry. The Wolverine is next. And yeah, this is a really fun movie. It's got the action you would expect from a Wolverine film. And I liked the way they tied it into his comic book storylines of the Japanese connection. Yeah, it was solid. It could have been better, but In the context of this franchise, it really, really, really could have been worse. Most definitely. Then I think Deadpool comes in next, and that slots straight in at brilliant. Oh, watching Deadpool for the first time, still one of my favourite Marvel movie experiences ever. It's so funny. It's so perfectly played by Ryan Reynolds. TJ Miller's hilarious. It's just a brilliant, brilliant movie. And it kind of felt like this franchise was making a comeback. It really did. X-Men First Class was decent, as I said. The Wolverine was good. Deadpool wasn't too bad. And everything started to feel good. Everything was felt like it was on the up. Next, we're just going to slot in X-Men Days of Future Past. Another good film. I can go in there. Yeah, this film outlines why this film is so bad, and outlines really how bad Days The Last Stand is, because Days of Future Past, this movie was only made so they could erase this movie. In the way that the admittedly very, very confusing X-Men movie timeline works, this film does not exist in the reality that we see in Dark Phoenix. Because it was so bad, they just wiped it out. It doesn't exist. And they kind of gave themselves a clean slate to work with. So that takes us to X-Men Apocalypse. And I'm going to stick this film in average. I know a lot of people will put it down towards this end, but I actually quite liked it when I first saw it. I felt the action was good. I really, really, really liked Apocalypse. I thought that was a brilliant performance from Poe Dameron. That's not his real name, but the same actor plays both roles. But yeah, I thought that was a brilliant performance from Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse. And yeah, it was I felt it was a decent movie, but at the end, when they get defeated Apocalypse by Jean using the Phoenix Force that she didn't have yet, it kind of let the movie down for me, because the problem with the original trilogy was that this film was made at the wrong time with the wrong storyline. They hurried into the Dark Phoenix story, and at the end of Apocalypse, I felt that they were doing it again. But moving on from that, we have Logan. And Logan slots straight in at brilliant. This is just a fantastic movie. I love it so much. Has so much heart, and was the best send-off for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine character that you could imagine. Was exactly what was needed for such a good character, played by such a good actor who had given his all to that role. And yeah, as much as some of Hugh Jackman's films in this series have been bad, really bad, X-Men Origins Wolverine and The Last Stand both have him as the title character and suck. But he's good in them. They are bad movies made slightly better by him. He is a fantastic character and a brilliant actor with terrible scripts, poor storylines, and yeah, he gives definitely these two movies some semblance of respect back. But next up, Deadpool 2. And some of you may disagree with this, but I'm putting Deadpool 2 in at good. And if I'm doing that, I'm going to make that little change there. So, yeah. In terms of this category, X-Men and Deadpool 2 are a class above these three, but they aren't at the level of X2 and Logan and Deadpool. So Deadpool 2 was good, it was really funny, Cable was fantastic, really liked Domino, the X-Force was fantastic. Yeah, it was a really funny movie. Juggernaut was good, but it didn't quite hit the high that the first one did for me. It was still a really good movie, I still really enjoyed it. Negasonic Teenage Warhead was still fantastic. It was still a really enjoyable movie. Just wasn't quite brilliant. It was really, really good. It just wasn't quite brilliant for me. Then we come to Dark Phoenix, the latest and last of the Fox-made X-Men movies, due to the fact that Marvel have bought Fox and now own the rights to this franchise, these characters, which hopefully means we will get to see characters like Deadpool, and still I am hoping that Hugh Jackman will deliver what he keeps saying he would love to do and come back and do a MCU movie. I think that'd be incredible. He keeps saying that he would love to do something like that, and Chris Hemsworth keeps saying that he would love to do a Thor Wolverine movie, which I still think would be one of the greatest things ever. But here we go, the last one, X-Men Dark Phoenix. Now it definitely goes in the bottom half because it's just not a very good movie, let's be honest. It was made at the wrong time, with the wrong story, by the wrong people. Everything about this movie didn't sit right. And the problem is, I went into the movie thinking this is going to suck. I walked out of the movie and 5 minutes later I couldn't remember a single thing that had happened. The movie was so bland. It felt like a by-the-numbers superhero movie. Just nothing about it hit. They killed off Raven within the first 10 minutes. Stupid. They tried to give that a massive emotional push at the start of the movie, but they couldn't pull it off. Wasting Jennifer Lawrence. The Charles Xavier storyline that they tried to put in there didn't sit with me. I don't feel they pulled it off correctly. Magneto was still cool, but most of the action didn't make sense. The bad guys were faceless and not intimidating or frightening or even vague. There was nothing about the bad guys in this movie that even interested me. They were so bland, so generic, and yeah, this was just, as a movie, it was such an average movie, but because of how I felt about it and how this is the last movie of this series, and it should have been so much better, and it should have been a different storyline. It should have been a different story. It should have had a different tone, and it should have been made so differently. And so, here is my ranking of the X-Men movies within the Fox franchise. So, in brilliant, X2, X-Men United, Deadpool and Logan. In good, X-Men, X-Men First Class, The Wolverine, X-Men Days of Future Past and Deadpool 2. Average, X-Men Apocalypse. Poor, X-Men Origins Wolverine. And terrible, X-Men The Last Stand and X-Men Dark Phoenix. It really tells you something that the two story films in which they try to do the Phoenix saga are the worst ranked here, because that was handled so badly in both examples, and is definitely, well, we know they are going to at some point, but when Marvel start their X-Men franchise, I really hope they stay away from Dark Phoenix for a long time. Same as they didn't have Captain America say Avengers Assemble until the 22nd movie in their franchise. They should, because they didn't feel they'd earned it and they needed to build up to it, and that needed to be a massive, poignant moment. The Dark Phoenix storyline needs to almost be like that for the X-Men. If you want to do that, you have to earn it. You need to give us, in the case of Marvel and the way it looks like they would do things, I would say they need to give us 5 very, very solid X-Men centric movies before you get to do something with Dark Phoenix. Give us some character build up, give us some substance. Let us feel the same way for these characters as we do for Iron Man, Captain America, and the rest. Give us real characters instead of... We've seen this cast in 2 movies, and the second movie was a Dark Phoenix movie. We never really got to see them, we never really felt for them, we hadn't connected with them, and we're supposed to care when one of them dies. It didn't work, it wasn't a good way of doing it, and yeah, it just didn't sit right with me at all, either time they tried. But we are now saying goodbye to this X-Men franchise, and thankfully we have some really good memories to say goodbye to it, like the original 2 movies, the Deadpool franchise, and, well, Hugh Jackman as the best Wolverine. Simply the best Wolverine. Even in the movies that were terrible, he was still the best Wolverine we could have. So yes, that was me ranking every single X-Men movie, and, well, every single movie within Fox's X-Men franchise on TierMaker. Coming up soon, I have some FIFA content, and next on TierMaker we're going to be ranking every single Spider-Man movie, including Into the Spider-Verse and Far From Home, to think about and celebrate Spider-Man's involvement in the MCU due to the deal between Marvel and Sony breaking down, and the fact that he won't appear in any more MCU movies at the moment, which is really, 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 really sad. But yep, that'll be up next. I've got a couple of videos in the works, so hope you've enjoyed. Subscribe, leave a like, all that stuff, and yeah, bye.